What's going on YouTube? This is SB3 Videos, and today I am going to be going over my thoughts going into the new year, and what I think the future holds for Milestone in their video games. Um, as if you guys are an avid fan of motocross or play the games pretty consistently, you'll notice that there wasn't a new MXGP game that came out this season, and I think that's done intentionally. I think that they're planning for something, and I believe the contract expired. I've never been able to find the contract that they had for these MXGP or Supercross games, but I believe that they were scheduled to make 7 of them. And this last one, 2021, I believe was the 7th one that they made. And so, I mean, it could just be a coincidence that MXGP decided to not renew the license. I mean, there could be a lot of things that have happened that are making this decision move forward, but I truly believe that it's because of the SMX series and the announcement of doing an all-in-one series, so to speak. I mean, yes, the Supercross and AMA Motocross series will still run separate championships, but then at the end of the season, they're going to do a 3-race playoff round called Super Motocross. If I'm Milestone, I'm snatching that contract. It's the first year that they're doing it, and it's going to be wildly, highly anticipated, I would imagine. I mean, a lot of people, myself included, I prefer watching or I prefer playing these Supercross games, and I buy the MXGP games more out of love for the sport than my actual enjoyment of playing MXGP tracks. I'd rather be playing Milestone. I'd rather be playing a Milestone game for the AMA Nationals, but if you're a motocross fan and you enjoy motocross video games, then, you know, as a fan base, we tend to kind of deal with what we got, unfortunately, and I want to take nothing away from the MXGP series. I enjoy the series, and the games have actually made me follow the championship more closely than I used to, so it's not a knock on the MXGP series, but I want a milestone-based motocross game that is cohesive. And Super Motocross truly allows for this opportunity. It truly allows for something like this to happen. Whereas in previous years, it just never made sense. Why would Milestone purchase the AMA Nationals rights or contracts and be able to go and use and create 2 different games for the same set of riders, I guess. So my thought process on this is that they release a single video game, title it AMA Super Motocross Championship. And then from there, they go through and they can release it. I don't know how they would handle it logistically, if they would handle it like how Rainbow Studios and THQ have handled previous motocross releases, where you pay $60 for the base game, and then as the tracks are released, or as the race happens, or the Tuesday before, or however they want to do it, they can release the tracks and you can race the new round. Now, that I don't think would make a ton of sense, because we're spending $60 to get a game, and you're essentially paying for like a season pass at that point. Similar to what they used to do with the Pro Motocross Championship, where you would get to play the race, or race the racetrack the Tuesday or Wednesday before the actual race. And I think that could work, but I think having to pay $60 for a full-fledged game that the first 6 months of the game you're not going to really get any content, that makes it hard. And unless you're doing it from a pure simulation standpoint of, you know, the career mode is essentially non-existent or things like that, then it makes it hard to do a release schedule like that. So I don't see them releasing a game Q1 or even Q2. If they're going to do the single game, I see them releasing it somewhere towards maybe August or September, but I would imagine it's probably going to be September, October, November, something like that, just so that way they can get through the entire series, and you get the entire game up front. They can build a career mode around it. They can have a cohesive championship of Supercross and Motocross, and then Super Motocross. So the way I think it's going to work out, and the way that it would make the most sense to me, is that they release the game somewhere around September, August or September. this gives them the opportunity to get through the Supercross Championship in its entirety, the Motocross Championship almost in its entirety if you go into September. You can release that as the big lead up to the Super Motocross Championship. From there, you're able to go and hype this game up around the Super Motocross Championship, and whenever the game releases, you get access to the Supercross Championship and the Motocross Championship. And if you're doing career mode, then it leads all to this epic finale of the Super Motocross Championship. And that could be released as DLC, that could be released as a future update, and I think that would be the best way for them to go forward with it, just because it builds the hype around the first ever Super Motocross Playoff Championship that they're doing. So that would be a really good way for them to kind of bank sales and kind of take advantage of the moment of this inaugural Super Motocross Championship. The way I would like to see it is I'm okay with the September, October, August to October release time frame. That's fine. I don't have an issue with that, and if they're only going to be releasing a single game, then that's even better. The way I think it would be best, and I don't know if this would make sense logistically on their side, or financially, or however they want to look at it, is have this be the base game. And then instead of releasing a brand new game every season, like how we've been doing, where we're 6 games in minor physics tweaks, I think they would get a lot less negative feedback if they release this main game, the Super Motocross Championship 2023, and then they release it in 2023. Come January 2024, they start prepping for 2024, and then same time frame, August, September of 2024, they release a massive update. And instead of completely wiping the slate clean, they go ahead and just update the physics to whatever tweaks they've made to improve the game or improve the lifestyle of the game, and then they incorporate the 2024 tracks and kind of rinse and repeat. They offer a track update. They could even do it to where they do rider, like A1, for example, coming up to A1 of 2024. They do a rider roster update. It can be free or it can be paid. I mean, the potential for them to earn money in just DLC it's damn near limitless, because you can go through and you can monetize just about everything, and it, from a financial standpoint for them, I think it would be a huge win. If they price it right, then it's no different than if we're paying for a game once a year or 2 games a year. So you figure these games are $50, we'll say $60, that's $120 a year. So they have a lot of room that they can play with, keeping the same base, I'll say IP, the same base game that they release in 2023, and just updating the physics, updating the tracks, updating the rider roster. And if they want to add a layer of replayability, keep all that stuff in there. When you go to pick a roster, have it be year selectable, so when we get 4 or 5 years into this new IP, and we've got 2023, 24, 25, 6, 7, 8 rosters, that gives us a lot of freedom, a lot of replayability, a lot of immersion into a game that, truthfully, these career modes are very drastically stale. And it's unfortunate that they've gotten this way, and I hate that I pay $50 every time one of these games come out because of my loyalty to the series. I want to play these games. I want to play whatever it is, and with a great modding community that we've got with Pay 2021 on PC, then we're solid. I mean, this is the 5th Supercross game, and I'm running the ET3 on a Yamaha. And when it's Supercross 6, Pay 2021 is going to release a 2023 mod. So I think this is good for the overall lifestyle of the game. It's going to help make sure that even if they don't add in the season packs, where they could, for all I care, they could go in and release the game and completely update the UI. They can update everything and completely get rid of the previous seasons. I think it'd be asinine on their part if they're going to do something like that. because it just leaves open track. It opens up the ability to, if you're going to create a season or do race director and host a season of Supercross, rather than relying on fan-made tracks, they can just use tracks that were previously used in the 2023 season, and they can add them to the 2025 season and do different things. I think ideally this would look something similar to MLB The Show, where you're picking your uniforms for your home and away team, and they have like legacy gear, or not gear, legacy uniforms. And from there, the way that would incorporate here is you're going to select Eli Tomac to run the 2023 season. Do you want to run him Yamaha? They would have to get, since he hasn't changed, he wouldn't have changed teams in this situation. But they could add something like Kenny going from HRC in the 2022 season to Progressive Suzuki, or Chase Sexton on Honda in 2023 and then KTM on 2024. Or they could even add these quote legacy gear sets. I mean, like there's so many ideas that you could go through and put this in to be a money-making machine for the developer, and it makes sense, and it's a nostalgia feature that maybe not everybody's going to buy, but that's why you make it optional paid DLC. I would pay to have a legacy gear set where I can go through and pick Tomac from his Geico Honda days and ride around on updated physics in his Geico gear, or his Kawasaki days, or his his Star Racing. Being able to go in and add things like a custom championship, and being able to select, hey, in my series that I'm doing, I want Justin Barsh to be the champion, and be able to go in and select him as the defending champion, and the game in turn puts him as the number one. Or Eli Tomac, or whatever it is, and the game kind of has its own set of stats, again, similar to how MLB The Show does it. They release their game annually, and the depth of what they're able to do with this game is just so much more in depth what we're able to do with a Supercross game. In MLB The Show, these guys can go through and, if you pick up where Albert Pujols, for example, has played in this 2022 season. I know he's retired, but he's the first player that came to mind. But if we're saying he starts off with, let's say he has 500 home runs in your career, he plays for another 5 seasons, and he ends up with another 150 home runs. And it updates the stats and things like that. I think that even with the faults of the EA sports games, there's a lot that they can learn in terms of depth of playability to a certain extent, and just adding a little bit of quality of life things, like you play this game, we'll say SMX 2023. Eli Tomac's tied with Chad Reed on the all-time leaderboard. Cool. You come into your career mode for that 2023 season, and Tomac goes out there and wins 7 races, 10 races, whatever it is. And then he comes back and defends the title, or whatever it is. Then you have those numbers updated. And he wins 10 races, that puts him at 54 race wins. And then they could add another layer of having he retires, or whatever it is. And I mean, they've got to get a lot of creativity in here to kind of keep the game flowing. And I don't think it flows. It's a smaller sport than, say, like football or baseball is. So I mean, getting in here and throwing in random people's names isn't going to flow quite as well, I don't think, if you don't see the big hitters of today. But you think that and I keep quoting MLB The Show because it's something that I think, in my mind, that would be a very good comparison of what they need to build towards to give the fans really what they want, physics aside. If I go out and I put in and I race this season, or I race this 2023 season, and I race my created character for 10 years, Eli Tomac's not racing for 10 years in real life, and adding a bit of realism to where you see him step away, or you see contracts end, or whatever it is. I mean, I think on that side, you think SmackDown versus Raw too. You can negotiate teams, you can negotiate, things like that. I mean, there's a ton of different game ideas that they could pull from that are successful, and they can pull it into this game, and it just makes it adds to the replayability, because if I play this game and I want to go in there as like a world manager or whatever it is, and just do it that way, then you can, and it gives you a lot of flexibility. And again, I don't think they're going to do this, but let me know your ideas of what you want to see in a Supercross or the Super Motocross game, if that's what they're doing. Let me know your ideas. I mean, at some point, I think Milestone has done a decent job of listening to the community, and being on a yearly release schedule made a lot of things really difficult for them to try to accomplish, and on top of whatever projects they had going on. And it made it hard on them to try to compete and put these massive changes in there, and that's what a lot of the flack they've gotten is the games don't look really any different from year to year. They're small little graphical improvements, the physics are a little bit different, whether that's good or bad, and I think putting this into a singular game is going to open it up a lot more, especially if they just do it, instead of doing annual releases, a brand new, it's not a new IP, but I'm saying in the sense of like, it's not an update to the base game that they have, it's a brand new game. If they can go out there and put something in there that's, you know, release the 2023 version as the base game, and then make tweaks to it every year. The Pro Nationals probably doesn't need to get too many changes. The only thing that they're really going to be updating annually is the Supercross tracks. So you add that in there, and then I think you've got a solid game. So let me know what you guys think down below. Let's start a trend. Let's get this over to Milestone. Let's get our opinions heard, and see if they can go and put something out there that everybody wants, and something they can build towards, rather than doing annual releases of minor changes that we take because we're in this position of kind of accepting whatever is given to us, and not really being able to voice that, you know, these changes need to be made, or we're not going to buy the games. So it's December 30th here, so Happy New Year to everybody. I plan on being more active this year with Supercross and Motocross, as well as the games. Last year I had a baby, so it's made things a little more difficult on our side to be able to go out and just make the videos kind of at the timetables that we wanted to. And with him being a little over a year old now, it's given me some freedom to be able to make these videos again. So let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. What do you guys want to see in a potential Super Motocross game? Do you like the idea of it being building off of a base game and then paying for DLC to update the season versus buying, or would you rather buy a new game, kind of like what we've been doing? Let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks.